dog kind of wander out using the whole leash here. Let the dog wander out. Little correction here. Yes. Mark that with a yes, and then reward here. Reward the dog when they come to you. Now we can start walking. Take another turn. Correction on the collar. That wasn't a very good correction. You can see the dog kind of turned the opposite direction that I corrected, but it still worked out well. We always want to try and provide a little bit of direction when we give an e-collar or a prong collar correction. So if the dog is walking ahead, good girl, and I want to turn. Yes, good girl. I want to direct the dog using the leash. Good girl. So again, walks ahead. Good. Anywhere the leash goes, you're going to see that the dog knows to kind of follow that a little bit.
So basically guiding it.
Yeah, exactly, right? So if the dog is walking, I mean, ahead, and I want the dog to come that way, see the dog is avoiding now, the dog's kind of avoiding that correction, but you can see the dog turn in the direction that I point the leash. Yes, good job. What can happen is if you're doing this with certain dogs and you kind of let them wander ahead, and you try and pull this leash straight back, there's some confusion, right? The dog doesn't know how to respond to that. So you want to try to avoid going straight down the spine. Always kind of direct it. Usually what I'll do is kind of go down low and give a little bit of directional pressure like that. Good girl. Good girl. We can walk around here. Good girl. And again, she's avoiding that, right? That's the whole idea here, is that she's avoiding it. And she's even anticipating, like if she loses sight of you, you can see she kind of jumps back into position. Ooh, I better avoid that. Now, if her nose starts going down, we can correct that too by just giving a little bit of a correction upwards on the leash, right, to bring her nose up. She keeps wanting to wander to my left side. That's okay at the moment. Don't worry about that. Good. Good.
It's really paying attention to you though.
Sit. Yeah, no, she's doing really, really good with that. Good girl. Now, that whole idea, right, of that pressure release, right? So if we're just using this for leash pressure, no command, really what we're teaching is just don't let that get tight, and then you can avoid that pressure at all times, right? That's basically what the dog is learning here, right? Is if you don't let that leash get tight or start getting tight, you'll never get that little correction, right? Good girl, so then she's avoiding it.
So basically, she's just learning that she pays attention to you and where you're going.
Yeah, she can avoid that
She
correction.
can avoid that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then what we want to start to do is obviously, like I said, attach that to our different commands, right? So if we're going to do place command, that's what we can do. But even with something as simple as a sit command, it's the same idea, right? So we would first teach the dog how to escape the pressure and then how to avoid it. So if I want the dog to sit using the prong collar, what I can do is apply some prong collar pressure straight up, sit, get the command sit, release the pressure right there,
So
right?
it's the same kind of idea with the e-collar.
Yeah.
Same.
It's
It's
the exact
just
same.
more manual.
It's exactly the same
It's
stuff.
more manual.
It's escape and
Okay.
avoidance training is what it is. And yeah, it's exactly
we did the same thing with the
choke chain,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
But I like
exactly.
this better.
The prong collar is just a lot more responsive, I find,
I
than
feel like
most
it was
dogs.
more gentle.
It is.
You really need to.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And
it is.
it's less confrontational with your
Yeah,
dog,
it
that
should be.
direction.
It should be most of the time. There are certain dogs that don't respond the best to the prong collar, and we'll kind of come across those as we go, and we'll kind of point those out, obviously. But you know, it's one of those things where as long as it's being used properly, I definitely think that it's a beneficial tool. But certain dogs, like even Husky, who comes tonight, he's probably going to do better with something like a slip leash because it does create a little bit more conflict with him. When he feels that prong collar pressure, he gets a little more aggravated, right?
Okay.
And that's maybe just from, you know, poor usage previously, who knows? But at the same time, it's one of those things where certain dogs won't take kindly to that pressure. And you'll even see in protection sports that use prong collars to amp dogs up, right? Like if they want a dog to act more aggressively, they can pop on a prong collar behind them, so they start barking a little bit
Well, I see that.
right? Good. Now when we're using it, we always want to have that little bit of a pop on the prong collar, right? So what I wanted to say before I started filming there is one thing I always tell people is when we give a correction with a prong collar, we never want to be physically moving the dog's feet. And I can show you what I mean. So if I put this on the flat collar and I want the dog to kind of turn with me, I'll show you here.
You don't want to pull them with
The
it.
dog I have to physically pull the dog's
You
feet
just want to
towards me,
so
right?
that they choose to come with you.
Yeah, so you want to make that pop on the prong collar so then they're the ones deciding to move their feet towards you, right? So if you're not physically moving them, they're moving themselves. They're the ones making, good job, making that choice. Yes, they're the ones making that choice, right? And then it becomes that simple. Your dog starts to focus a little bit. You give that little pop on the prong collar, they turn back to you and focus back to you, right? And that's a great way we can use that same idea to break reactivity, right? Using just a prong collar, right? Dog starts to fixate, you start to back away, get that little pop, they come to you, you reward them, right? And they start to learn that they have to focus on you in those situations.
I like that.
Right?
I like that a lot.
Good. This is especially sit. So you can see pressure's up. I said sit. Sit. I might touch down on the butt a little bit to help with a little bit more feedback. Sit. Release. Yeah. Good.
Okay, that makes sense.
Release. And then pretty quickly she'll start to learn, like, okay, when I feel that pressure and it goes upwards, I sit. Or if I hear sit, I just sit, right? So you can use both, right? A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just, be walking along and I want my dog to sit, a little bit of pressure upwards on the prong collar, their butt goes right down. You don't even need to necessarily say
I think the biggest thing with this is just remembering to release as soon as they do it.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
learning
The
on the
release of the
release.
pressure. Yeah, and when you release it, mark it and reward it with
Yeah.
them too. Good job. Mike.